Alright guys, so this is server test basically is what I've been doing. So the guy we were teaming up with to help test server settings, it was taking too long to communicate back and forth, and they ended up changing a setting on the server. They decided not to have base building anymore, and so I went and bought my own server. This one is only 10 players at the moment, and if it does become more popular, I'll increase it. But I wanted to kind of go over something that we've noticed. If what they told me was true, I tested all the loot settings. We were going down and down and down on his, and he said he went down to point 0.3 on his loot settings on his server. So at point 0.3, if that was the last thing that he had on his server, all of the cars and all of the puppets were still spawning basic loot. Okay, so all those guys were still spawning basic loot. And then I was finding a shotgun or 22 in most places that I was going. I was finding a gun, at least one in a container. So you would search all the containers in a building and you would end up finding one gun or so. So if that's something you're more interested in, that might be something more your style. If you want some guns on your map, but you don't want everything to be too crazy. So it was basically just a bunch of crafting components and uh, shotguns, 22, and I found an AWP or sniper in a gas station, but it seemed too easy to find guns. So I started at 0.25, or I started at point 0.1. Point 0.1 gives you access to some goods, or like really actually nothing. I mean, there's nothing that's really spawning at point 0.1. When you go around, there's not much of anything on shelves. You'll find like an occasional bit here and there. And then I went to 0.25, which again basically had nothing really in it. If you would search a whole bunker, you might find, one piece of scrap or something inside of there, nothing too much. And right now we've made our way all the way up to 0.275. So now you can see with 0.275, we're getting some basic components, scrap metal, clothing. The puppets are starting to drop cell phones and things again. These guys over here, they dropped some cell phones. This guy dropped some tracer bullets, and they've dropped, I think, 2 or 3 puppet eyes so far. So I'm thinking we're getting pretty close to where we want to be. So you see they have military boots in here that are spawning ground loot now. So the main thing is that we just don't want the guns to spawn on my server, but I figured this information might be kind of helpful to people looking to make their own servers. So 0.25, you're not really going to find much of anything anywhere super useful, okay? But now when we go to 0.275, so far out of this bunker, this is what we found. This is a C2 bunker. We've looted the central area of the bunker and a couple of the medical areas. So we got a camera lens, sewing kit, painkillers, some duct tape, tracer bullets, a bunch of different bullets, and a suppressor. Whereas before, we didn't get anything out of any of the loot containers, any of the lockers. I think we found like a couple of things, nothing too serious. And we're going to go ahead and lockpick these lockers real quick and see if we can find anything useful. But being able to get these crafting components, we're going to drive around in a car here in a second. After we get these lockers fixed up. And we'll check some car spawns or prison spawn. Alright, so Deagle mags. So I know at point 0.3, you'll find magazines and stuff all the time. So you find guns on occasion, but they're lower tier guns usually, and you'll find a ton of magazines. This finding one magazine I'm not super opposed to, but I got to figure out how to balance the spawn rates. If we can keep guns from spawning, then I can keep the gun prices high and the sell prices fairly high. But since the ammunition and the magazines are spawning, I'm going to have to lower those down, make those a couple $100 to keep it sort of balanced with animal farming is going to be the plan, I believe. So we'll see on that one. So I'm thinking at this point, I could probably go to like 0.27. Maybe it would lower the spawns enough, but it depends on how many basic crafting materials we get. Now, part of this is if we can keep the more powerful guns from spawning and keep, say, 22s. If we can keep 22s and shotguns, maybe. Okay, so this guy dropped a magazine, so we're starting to get more loot now. But if we can keep shotguns like double barrels, maybe a pump action, I think that would be acceptable for the most part for the server we're trying to build. 22s would probably be a high-end spawn. I don't really want anything above that. Armors and things like that are going to be expensive at the traders, but you can see right here, you're going to be able to farm armors off of puppets. They're going to be 50% durability, but they should work well versus arrows. So the main attraction for coming to these bunkers is going to be the potential of loot and the armor and kill boxes. But I'm needing to get scrap metal and stuff to spawn. That is the big thing I'm looking for right now. We need basic crafting components. It doesn't have to be a lot, but I would like it to be acceptable, you know, being able to craft like metal spears or something. I think how we're going to balance, I don't really know if it's going to be balanced. It's going to have a lot of testing, but once I get this server set up, I'm going to try and see if anyone wants to join to help test some things. I'm thinking lock picks and stuff. You're going to be able to craft locks, I believe, depending on how the loot ends up working out. But I would like to make it to where like basic locks are like 20 or 40k, medium locks are like 40 or 60k, and advanced are either 60 or 80k. And then just make screwdrivers sellable, so you can end up selling a screwdriver for like 60k, maybe. And that makes like a high risk, high reward gamble type of stat. Okay, so we're getting a little bit of metal. It's not too much. The thing is that the basic spawn rates and the rare spawn rates are like interconnected, it seems. So I can't really do one without the other. And for right now, it's going to be first person only. I might change that because I like being able to see my character and stuff, if we're going to be honest. And this game has some really unique third-person features. And has good driving skill and stuff as well. So, I mean, the third-person Grand Theft Auto type driving Looks good. But yeah, this is going to be a short video over this. I might update a couple more posts after I test a couple more settings. But for now, just, if you're building a server, 0.3 is still spawning basic loot pretty much everywhere, as long as what they told me is accurate. But it was also spawning shotguns, 22s, and sniper rifles that I've seen fairly frequently. 0.25 and 0.1 weren't really spawning much of anything, and 0.275 is starting to spawn basic loot in containers like rubber bands and things again, so take that with a grain of salt, and good luck.